Jōmon period. The Jōmon period is named after an archaeological artifact, a type of pottery decorated with rope-like spirals. Around 10,000 years ago, Japanese territory and the mainland connected to the south via Korea and to the north via Hokkaido and Sakhalin, forming an inland sea in between. Stable settlements appeared around 10,000 BCE, corresponding to the Mesolithic or, according to some debates, the Neolithic culture, but exhibiting characteristics of both. The distant ancestors of the Ainu people of modern Japan, diverse members of the Jōmon culture, 10,000 to 300 BCE, left behind the most evident archaeological remains. This culture was contemporary with the Mesopotamian, Nile River, and Indus Valley civilizations. During this period, there were no clear signs of cultivation until around the middle of the first millennium BC, with crops such as millet, buckwheat, and hemp. The Japanese switched to rice cultivation and established settlements. They began making pottery decorated with rope-like patterns by tying strings around the pottery before firing. Towards the end of this period, the first signs of the need for a national unification emerged. Many excavations from this period show that the early and middle Jōmon periods experienced a population boom. These two periods correspond to the Holocene climatic optimum, 4000 to 2000 BC, when temperatures were several degrees Celsius higher than today, and sea levels were 2 to 3 meters higher. Highly artistic pottery artifacts, such as decorated kiln-fired pottery vessels, have been found from this period. After 1500 BC, the weather became colder and the population likely declined rapidly, as far fewer archaeological sites corresponding to the 1500 BC period have been found compared to before. Towards the end of the Jōmon period, according to archaeological research, a significant change occurred. Early forms of agriculture developed into rice cultivation, and governmental control emerged. Many elements of Japanese culture can be traced back to this period and reflect migrations from the southern Asian continent and the South Pacific. These include Shinto traditions, marriage customs, architectural styles, and technological developments such as lacquerware, drawn bows, metalworking, and glassmaking. The Yayoi period. The Yayoi period is considered the time when agricultural society first fully exhibited its characteristics in the Japanese archipelago. Rice was grown in marshy, alluvial areas, while millet, barley, and wheat were grown in higher areas. Agricultural tools and weapons made of copper, tin, and iron were brought from the Asian mainland and widely used. The first Yayoi people may have appeared in northern Kyushu and later moved to Japan's largest island, Honshu, where they quickly replaced the native Jōmon people. Although the Yayoi pottery making techniques were more advanced than those of the Jōmon, pottery was produced on a potter's wheel. Yayoi pottery was more simply decorated. The Yayoi also made ceremonial bells, mirrors, and bronze weapons. In the 1st century, they began using agricultural tools and weapons made of iron. As the Yayoi population grew, their society became more complex. They wove wool, settled in agricultural villages, built stone and wooden structures, and wealthy individuals emerged who owned large tracts of land and accumulated large amounts of food, leading to the division of social classes. This development may have originated from the irrigation and rice-growing cultures of the Yangtze River Basin in southern China. Until recently, it was believed that rice was introduced to Japan via Korea, but recent DNA analysis has refuted this. Rice-growing culture led to the development of a settled agricultural society in Japan. However, unlike in Korea and China, local political and social changes in Japan were more significant than the actions of the central government in a class-divided society. The next archaeological period in Japanese history is known as the Kofun period, which also marks the beginning of the Yamato period. Yayoi society gradually developed into a society dominated by a military aristocracy and clan-organized estates, a hallmark of the later Kofun period. This shift most likely stemmed from migration from the Korean peninsula. Kofun period. The Kofun period lasted from approximately 250 to 538 AD. The word Kofun in Japanese means ancient tomb. It was used to name the period because of the numerous ancient tombs with distinctive shapes and architecture that appeared during this time. The Kofun period followed the Yayoi period. The Kofun period and the later Asuka period are often grouped together as the Yamato period. Burial mounds. Kofun, meaning ancient burial mound in Japanese, began to appear in large numbers during this period. The Yamato kingdom in its early stages, the Japanese used Chinese characters yi, pronounced Washington, oe, to represent the name Yamato, later adopting the two Chinese characters Yamato to establish its rule over more than half of the western part of the Japanese archipelago, including the southern part of the Korean peninsula. Later, control over southern Korea weakened, and power struggles within the imperial family threatened Yamato's power. Buddhism and Confucianism began to be introduced. The Kofun period is distinguished from the Asuka period by cultural differences. The Kofun period is typically characterized by a totemistic culture that predates the arrival of Buddhism in Japan. Politically, the establishment of the Yamato court and its expansion into the Kyushu and Kanto regions are key factors representing this period. The Kofun period also represents the first period of written history in Japan. However, chronicles of this period are still very rudimentary, and the lack of order requires more in-depth research and greater support from archaeology. Archaeological documents and ancient Chinese historical records show that the tribes and tribal leaders, numerous in Japan during this period, were not unified into states until around 300 AD, when large tombs began to appear, while there was still no contact between Western Japan and China. This mysterious century is also described as a period of internecine warfare between tribal leaders for control of Kyushu and Hansha. The Kofun period ended, giving way to the Asuka period around the mid-6th century with the arrival of Buddhism. This religion officially appeared in Japan in 538 AD, which is also considered the starting point of the Asuka period. Furthermore, after China was later unified by the Sui dynasty, also in the 6th century, Japan began to be deeply influenced by it. The essence of Chinese culture and the beginning of a new cultural era.